Hello everybody, let's do a live stream this morning. So normally I do these Patreon live streams on Tuesdays and Friday nights, right? But yesterday I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to me. I've either eaten something or I've got a little bug or something, but I was not good. I was not good. I was basically glued to the toilet. So not 100% at the moment, but definitely okay to do a stream. Yesterday would have been, well, pretty unpredictable. Let's just say the least. It would have been an unpredictable stream, and I didn't feel comfortable bringing my computer into the toilet with me, where basically I would have been able to do the stream. But it was, let's face it, no one wants that. Nobody needs that. So right, I've got some requests that have been sent through to me for last night's stream. Obviously, I couldn't make it, so we'll do those. We'll start off with a bit of an overview of the market because that's obviously what my morning videos would be like anyway. So yesterday we had a bit of a bumpy day for Bitcoin. We had a big move up and a big move down. Basically, we had one of these spinning tops. So it's an indecisive candle, but as far as the chart is concerned, it's the same as it's been all week, more or less. We've got the pump signal, which is waiting to pump. We're above more or less at most moving averages of significance. The 10 exponential sitting down here at 30,000, just below 30,000. So decent support down there. Even more support down here at 29,080. And then you've got your horizontal at 28,500, which is also your Bollinger Band as well. So tons of support all sitting down here. Now the breakout of the falling channel has obviously been pretty good. We've made a new local high twice effectively. We're consolidating on the shorter term time frame, so we can take it to a 4-hourly and have a look at that. The 4-hourly is technically ever so slightly at this very moment in time in favor of a bit further downside, potentially maybe. Maybe we get another Golden Cross retest, which is the first time the 50 exponential was tested, was yesterday, and both candle bodies supported above there, so both candle bodies closed above that level. So it's all looking quite good for Bitcoin, really. Just standard practice to pull back into sort of a 50 or a 200, which again is down here at this horizontal. We'll just extend that. So it's all looking fine. I appreciate that for most people who have not been around in crypto long enough to handle volatility in the short term, whether it's 4 hourlies, dailies, or whatever, might see a pullback to this level as catastrophic, but it really wouldn't be. It would just be yet another pullback into a decent area. So there's your 4 hourly 200, and that is your daily 20, which is a Bollinger Band center, all sitting around those levels. So if we were to pull back to that level, that's a massive buy zone, to be honest with you. This is a massive buy zone. It would be the equivalent buying here for decent expectations of bounces to what it would have been if we, well, I suppose in hindsight, hit here, or even better, that would have been the best one here. I was hoping that we were going to rise to the top of the channel, come back down here, because that would have been a mega support down here. And yeah, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at decent supports all the way down for Bitcoin, and everything's looking pretty sweet. Just to hit home the idea as well that gold and Bitcoin are still relatively correlated, although their charts in the last week or so have not been. The consolidation for gold is likely come to an end either here or maybe next week around this level as well. So, I was talking about this yesterday. This is where you could try to layer in your first levels of positions. It is a daily golden cross retest, similar to what happened over here, double bottomed and then bang all the way up to a new local high. So we'll be looking for the same sort of thing to happen already. So it's a decent reaction so far, so good. So all looking quite good, and we'll just look at stocks and how they closed again, up again. Another local high for the S&P with a view to come a little higher, maybe by another $100 or so. Dixie still meandering. Definitely has the potential to bounce around here and move back up. I'm not saying that to be honest with you, the dollar right now is neither here nor there. It could do either. It could move up, it could move down. But the main thing to focus on is that it is actually still quite low. So with stocks rallying, gold potentially wanting to rally, then people in cash positions, inordinate cash positions, and have been since we've been sitting around at these lower levels. They're probably a little bit fed up that they've missed an enormous amount of rally, in basically anything. It's been a really awesome year, and there was the potential for a big pullback on the dollar. And if you watched this this channel, you would have recognized that we more or less spotted the top, not so much based on its own obvious channel here, but on it was the euro. Sorry, not the euro. It's the dollar yen that really peaked. So yeah, it's looking good. And if we focus on this channel itself, the rising channel, then we're still at the midway point. We might fanny around in here a little bit further, but overall, we're still looking for us to trend down to the bottom of the trend line anyway over the next couple of years. So the dollar looks quite good, and the euro, again being the inverse of the dollar, is neither here nor there. It's still consolidating from its previous high over here, but the 4-hourly chart is technically bullish, to be honest. Obviously, all these markets are closed. It's Saturday today. Finally, we'll just look at Bitcoin dominance, and then we'll get into the stream. So it's curling over a little bit now, and we're breaking down. There's likely to see some form of bounce around here, to be honest with you, just getting reabsorbed back into the Bollinger Band. But this is now a definite change of behavior on the dominance chart. We'll take it to a daily to see it a little clearer. Yeah, there's plenty of areas to see bounces from 50.7%, maybe 49.5%, and possibly all the way down to 48%. Now, the reason I'm saying the Bitcoin dominance is looking interesting is because if you look at today's price action, we're down a little bit on Bitcoin, but technically we're still up on Ethereum. And if we can get and close above the $2,000 and start to build a base above there, then that's where all alts should benefit, because this is going to benefit the total market cap 2, and through association probably 3. And if you can see this, we're close to generating a pump signal on Ethereum to USDT. So that would be a good setup. Also, it's just another day in the life of a golden cross retest. You get these things quite frequently. They don't always happen. We've seen a lot of alts that tried to do something like this and then they broke down, but Ethereum has managed to hold it. So this golden cross retests have a reasonably good potential to do these V-shaped recoveries, and this is where we've seen one here. This is the same setup more or less that we've seen on gold, which is why we're getting relatively excited about that. So this is a 200 exponential. That's your 200 simple. There's your 200 exponential. Here's your 200 simple. And guess who else did something similar to that? Bitcoin, 200 simple, bang, all the way up. So they don't always work out, and when you try and trade these in the form of altcoins, sometimes they just don't work out, because altcoins are at the mercy of the broader markets, and so you can try and play them, to be honest with you. But Bitcoin and I suppose Ethereum have the higher degree of success because they're older and more heavily traded charts. Obviously, things like S&P, forex pairs, precious metals, gold especially, they also have higher degrees of success because they're heavily traded charts. And the more traded a chart is, the more likely it is to respect setups. So decent, definitely decent. Right, so let's get into the stream. So we'll start with these that I've been asked to look at. First of all, let's start with OMG, and we'll work our way backwards. So OMG, to be honest, is a good looking chart on the daily here. This massive big move up to what, 90 cents, pull back into a Bollinger Band, one a little wick below it yesterday, and a decent reaction so far, to be honest with you. I highlighted this probably over the last week as an altcoin with really serious potential to do, well, to double its value really over the next well, I don't know, couple of weeks or so, up to a 200 simple and exponential. Again, nothing more than a death cross retest, so a bearish retest at 100% from that Bollinger Band. There is a lot of risk involved when trading altcoins, especially stuff like this. This is one of the ones that I've been saying the whole time, that this is high risk, high reward. If it breaks down, it just continues to go down, as it has been doing since this peak over here, which is a decent peak, but then a pretty horrendous drop. As far as a daily is concerned, it's respected its 20 simple, so it's looking okay. And let's have a look at the momentum. Momentum's good. No bearish divergence on the daily. We're actually not overextended on any of these. And over the next week or so, if we can hold this position or higher, we'll get a breakout on the MACD. Which once you get crossed above that 0 point, things start to go a little extra bullish, and we can see that sort of thing happening on the 4-hourly now, actually. So we can see that we're crossing above the 0 point with the histogram there. So a lot more bullish momentum likely to start creeping into this chart. Bollinger Bands are quite tight. We've been reabsorbed back into that Bollinger Band. Then again, the overall health of all these altcoins, and every altcoin that we're going to look at today, is largely going to be based around Ethereum above 2,000. And like I say, yeah, hopefully that's something that we will see. I'm quite optimistic about it. With stocks still got a little bit further to go before I think they reach their peak. Dollar still low. Gold looking like it wants to bounce now from this from that golden cross retest. So all markets generally pointing up. They might be a bit choppy, especially with altcoins being extra choppy. But something like OMG is looking good. Now, if you're looking at this on for an Ichimoku Cloud setup, we don't have one, so we're really just looking at a breakout of a consolidation. The 4 hourly, you can look at around something along these lines. So we broke out around this level. We fannied around. We've reclaimed moving averages. We retested the actual trend line here on this dump. We've been reabsorbed into the Bollinger Band. We're above all major moving averages on the 4 hourly. Well, almost all. There's 200 exponential sitting here around 67 cents. So I'm pretty optimistic, but there isn't any pump signals on this one on its own. So we're now looking at this just in the form of a breakout of a descending triangle, and not even a triangle, more just a breakout of the consolidation. If we're looking at it on a 1 hourly, we do have pump signals that were generated around 65, so that's good, and the 1 hourly looks good. So a nice, retest of that descending trend line there and the golden crosses. So you might get pullbacks into these levels. We might see pullbacks to 64, 60, 63.5, which is basically any one of these moving averages. But at the moment, they're all in a nice clean spread with the pump signal to extra kicker there. And we'll be looking for this one to trend up. Now, yeah, it gets exciting when you hear someone say, "Oh, this one could double in price," which it could from obviously the Bollinger Band retest there, and obviously the retest of that trend line. So that is exciting when you hear that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should hold out. If you were to buy into this and say, right, sell order at $1.20, it's not the best thing to do. You layer it, you layer in and you scale out of stuff like this. So that I'm not saying that this is something you should buy. Absolutely not. It's up to you what you buy. But as far as a setup is concerned, there are no pump signals on the higher term time frames, nor would there be actually on this daily. For instance, the Itchy Cloud, we're still way below it. So, you've got to put it into perspective. There is a chance that this one could double in price, but it'll be nothing more than a bearish retest of a 200 exponential. So remember that. This is not the Ethereum chart. This is not the Bitcoin chart, which is way above all their moving averages and trending up. This is basically trying to do effectively like a dead cat bounce, really, but one that could bounce up to, maybe $120, $1.20. So just you got to put things into perspective. It's not a bullish chart for sort of loads of continuation. It's a volatile chart that's doing a death cross retest at best. Right. Sol USDT. So again, nothing more than a death cross retest is what should be expected on this one, bringing us up to like 22.25. This is your daily, so again it's looking quite good, but rejection on the 200 simple. So again, that's a death cross retest. This is a recent death cross as well, see. So this could be it, but I'm optimistic for altcoins, but recognize that there's a difference between bullish charts and bearish charts, and this is a bearish chart still. It's just done a death cross retest on a simple moving average. So remember the difference here. We're not going mad here. We're not saying that this is it's alt season time. We're not saying that. We're saying it's death cross season time, death cross retest season time. 4 hourly is definitely showing a little bit more promise. So we got a pump signal all the way back down here at 1686. That's technically still in play. No, it's not actually. It's even better now. So we've finally got a trend signal. So a trend signal completed on this candle body over here. So that's good. So we've got a trend signal now on the Itchy Cloud. And this trend signal will continue to play provided that the blue and the red don't make a negative cross or this Chiku span closes inside the price action. So we do need to hold above that 16.71 more or less. So $16.71 to not cancel out the trend signal. If we treat the trend signal as real and we're just pulling back now after this move up, all of these moving averages roughly I'd say around 1750, which is where most of them are going to sort of they're basically just going to merge into each other to create quite a strong support at this rough level. That's where a support would be around about 1750. The trend signal is in play, but momentum is dwindling. And we had 1, 2, 3 drives, and then, 3 drives of bearish divergence. So consolidation is kind of natural at that point, really. Weekends are a bit sketchy. Obviously, we all know that when it comes to trading, because we need traditional markets to generally point us in the right direction for for this market. And Bitcoin, again, you know, is down on the day. It's basically effectively every time I wake up in the morning, it's more or less at the same price. The only reason we're getting slightly more excited, if we can allow ourselves to use that word, is that Ethereum is getting closer to the breakout level, which will be good for altcoins. The 1 hourly would see a decent support around 1720, so not too different. Again, this whole area, you know, is support. Losing this area would be pretty devastating for Sol. So it does look okay. It's had a decent rally. Let's face it, it's had a decent rally, but maybe it's getting close to finishing. So we'll start with these higher term time frames rather than the 1 hourlies. All right, so we've obviously looked at this one in the past. We've had a descending channel similar to that of Bitcoin. We could probably extend it to see if there was any relevance to it here. But yeah, I mean, it's not neat or tidy. We've got plenty of these sort of things going on, and altcoins aren't the neatest or the tidiest, especially things like this. But to be fair, it trades quite high volume for an altcoin. The liquidity is definitely there. So this one has worked on and looks like it's completing a breakout of a falling channel there. So that's fine. We're above most moving averages of significance. In the bottom of the channel, also the 4 hourly Bollinger Band sitting around 126. That would be pretty sweet to see a retest of that level. Also, it would be very good to see breakouts above 135, 136. That would be above all major moving averages on the 4 hourly. We wouldn't have a pump signal or anything like that on the itchy cloud at that level. We need the leading portion of the cloud to flicker green, so we have 4 components of the pump signals. Don't really have that there, so that's something that we could look for hopefully in the future, maybe some point next week, if we start to trend back above the 136 area. Momentum on the 4 hourly is good though, so no bearish divergence or anything like that. Crossing above the 0 point, giving it hopefully a little extra push to get back above this level. Normally when you see breakouts like this, similar to what we've seen with Bitcoin when it broke out of its falling channel, which was going on for a lot longer by the way, you have a big move up to and beyond its previous high. So if that's the case, you know, on a formation basis, you would be looking for us to break above its previous high, so we're talking 147. But at this very moment in time, recognizing that the 135, 136 is resistance, there is no pump signal. The momentum is still good on this one. It's definitely still good. Be prepared for a pullback to this level. If we fall back below 126, which is back inside the falling channel, and back down below the 20 simple moving average, then yeah, you probably consider this to be failed and nothing more than a death cross retest. We've got plenty of these death cross retests taking place. I would like to see some setups that haven't done that aren't doing that yet. But so far, all alts are more or less doing that. This chart is obviously not very old, still wet behind the ears. There is a consolidation trend line that's technically still in play, you could argue, or maybe we've broken out from it. Again, when we look at charts which are very old, my main problem with them is that all indicators are based around price, volume, and time. Right, all indicators basically have those 3 components. That's how they're generated on the charts themselves. And so the older the chart, the more likely it is that they have decent setups that can be respected by the indicators, because you've got the price, you've got the volume, but you just don't have the time component with a chart like this. I mean, how old is this chart? It came in what, February, March 23. So it's only really known in a sketchy time in the market. Now, this doesn't mean that this can't moon hard down the line, because the thing about being immature is that basically you become unpredictable. But when you're looking to buy into any kind of chart or coin or anything, stock, whatever, that really doesn't have any price action, price history, your best friend is going to be fundamental analysis for the most point, really. Working out the tokenomics of that, working out the utility. That's how you're going to really find out if it's something that's going to work out, or make an educated guess as to where it's going to go. But for what we've got here, we can try to analyze it. And what we see is that we've reclaimed, first of all, we've broken the descending trend line, which is good. It's good enough. We're above a Bollinger Band. We're above the 10 exponential. There's only one moving average, which is at the top of the Bollinger Band, sitting here at 25, almost 26 cents, 50 exponential. Now, the money flow index is quite high. So to expect this one to moon hard, basically, immediately, I'd say is unlikely. It's unlikely, but it's again, it's an unpredictable chart because it's not very old. So let's take it to a 4 hourly. So what's going on here? So another super resistance sitting around 24.5 cents. 200 simple and exponential. So again, can this be considered death cross? Did it ever have a golden cross to have a death cross? Not really. It's only ever really known consolidation, really. So that's fair enough. Right, so things would likely get pretty interesting on this chart since we've got the breakout of the descending trend line, and we are pushing the last major moving averages on the daily and on the 4 hourly, which is roughly around 25 to 26 cents. You start to build a base above that. I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't incrementally start to reclaim all these previous local highs from these what we'll call them dead cat bounces. So the first one is roughly going to be around this level, around 32 cents. Next one is obviously going to be around here, so we've got quite a lot of price action around here. We're talking 43 cents. Obviously the next one around here is going to be more or less the top, the peak around here around 54. So you can mark these off as potential areas that could be seen, in the event that Ethereum does break out from its from its $2,000 zone. And yeah, similar to OMG, you do have some decent targets on the way up. They're incremental areas for you to probably think about taking profit if you were to buy into this one. And again, this one isn't like it's not crystal clear that it's actually going to do it here. There is no pump signal or anything like that. We're extended already on the daily on the money flow index, so liquidity is at a relatively toppy area. We can see the reactions in the past. Is this the highest? It's the second highest it's ever been, and we did have a huge sort of liquidity dump at this point here. So you come up here, so that effectively, I don't know how many people are watching this at the moment, but effectively when you watch these things, when you see the money flow indexes reaching these massive peaks, just imagine what this is, right? So this is it's usually a good way to think about when to get out of any position, especially when you're looking at overheated money flow indexes on the higher term time frames, like a daily and definitely on a weekly. This is showing you the size of liquidity. So if there was ever a time for anyone who's got loads of money in big bags of whatever coin or stock it is that you've got, if you ever want to dump into the market, you dump when the money flow index is high, because that's where the liquidity is. And basically that happens all the time with altcoins because the liquidity is quite low. So what happens is your money flow index reaches a relatively peaky area. Again, you want to look at the specific chart because they all have different reads. Anything above 95 is definitely worth getting out of, in my opinion. You do not want to be in a coin or anything really that reads a money flow index of 95 on a daily, but especially a weekly. A weekly would mark a very, very significant peak in anything. And you want to sell to all the money that's coming in. And this is basically all this is. Money coming in, volume coming in, order books high, everyone wants to buy, you want to sell. And so I'm not saying that this is definitely going to happen right now. It might pull back. It probably will pull back for, roughly around these levels. But that's what this indicator is all about. That's why I like to have it on here all the time. Because if I was to buy something based on its breakout like this and go, this is an interesting setup, I do like the way it looks, I fancy buying it, and then I look at the money flow index and it's at 95, and I'll be like, I can't really justify buying it because effectively I could potentially be buying the peak, even though that the areas above are so much higher. So yeah, we are looking at a money flow index peak based on its previous price action. Again, it's a very young chart, so we don't have much to go by. Which is why I like to trade older charts, despite younger charts, usually making bigger moves. The liquidity is already at a, not critical, but a significant peak, and so you might be looking for a pullback. So if that is the case, a pullback could just take us down to a Bollinger Band center. So let's just imagine that we do have a breakout, retest at the top of the Bollinger Band, 50 simple exponential, moving average, pullback around 25 to 26. Back down to 22 or thereabouts, and then maybe you could consider buying it at that point, really. But look, let's just put it into perspective. It's a young chart. It's going to be unpredictable. The breakout has potential. The potential is over 100% from where it is right now to the peak over here, and that could be over the space of let's just say weeks, months, but it's definitely got a potential for that to happen. But at this very moment in time, I wouldn't be able to justify buying it, although it could just pop at any minute, to be honest with you. It's a good setup for what it's worth, but the nature of the chart being so young makes it difficult for me to take the plunge on something like that. So Gala, look at this beast. So consolidation to the max, and actually this one's probably, if anything, is probably got further to go just based on what we see here. So a very long period of consolidation and accumulation. So we broke down from 50 to 44. So even from there it was a 50% pullback, a big move up to just again another death cross retest on the exponentials. So this is the sort of thing that we're looking at for most altcoins at the moment. So decent moves, but nothing more than another death cross retest. Breakouts from here would be awesome. They would be, very bullish across the board for all alts, and maybe that's where alt seasons begin. But at the moment, the charts are, for the most part, are still bearish. So what we're seeing over here is the money flow index peaked over here again, marking a peak on the chart with a 50 exponential moving average. Let's get a bit closer into the price. So yeah, it's messy. It's definitely a messy chart. It's not really respecting moving averages on the higher term time frames. Not too much. It definitely did on the pullback, but not so much on the supports. The 4 hourly, what we got going to the 4 hourly is also not very good. So did get rejection on, again, another nothing more than death cross retests. And at the moment, the bears have got a bit of control now, looking to push this one further down. In fact, we even got a short signal on the 4 hourly. So this one might find its way all the way back down to where it started. So bids and buys between 20 and 2.1 and 2 cents, basically. Yeah, that's unfortunate, really. The hourly, again, not really giving a great deal away. There was pump signal generated at this level, which is still below at the moment. So you could be optimistic about it, but it doesn't particularly look like it wants to go anywhere, unfortunately. So let's take it back to the higher term time frames. So I'm a believer in altcoins, generally speaking, long-term bids and buys. And look, if we do come back down to that 2 cent zone, it's probably worthy of picking some up for a long-term position. Back down to close to square one. We did dip down lower than this before, 15, 16 cents. Let's check the weekly, see if there's any building of momentum here. There's not, unfortunately. So even the weekly is still pretty weak. I don't know the tokenomics of Gala. I hear that it's something that should be thought about buying and holding in your portfolio on a fundamental basis, but based on this chart right now, not particularly happy about it. The first entry point, if you definitely really wanted to pick into it, would be more or less now. 2.4 cents, Bollinger Band center, 65% more likely to remain above the center of the Bollinger Bands. So statistically, you're more likely to bounce from here than break down, but only 65%. I don't usually like those odds. 65% is not an amazing, ratio. You wouldn't be particularly happy if someone gave you a 65% chance of survival if you were ill or something like that. So, just trying to think of it in those terms. The odds are in your favor. It's more likely to work out than not, but it's not great. It's not great. Jasmy, right? So Jasmy, again, similar scenario. Bollinger Band center, 65% more likely to remain above this band. That being 0.4 of a cent. So fair enough. Okay, that does exist at that level. But the rest of the chart, let's see how peaky we are. So yeah, money flow index more or less got the top on this one. This chart is, it's found way bigger peaks than this in the past. So there's your classic 94 to 95. Let's have a look at the size of that pullback. Yeah, it's a big one, basically. Catastrophic. The last peak around 95 is 5 cents. So 90%, over 90% down from that last major peak at 95% on the money flow index. So you do have to take these things seriously when you see them. But yeah, that's not the highest it's ever been, nor is it extraordinarily high, and we've more or less got back down to the 50 to 59, which is fair enough. Let's take it to a 4 hourly to see what's going on there. Okay, so that's unfortunate. So we did manage to get above the 200 exponential and simple, and we almost got a golden cross, but we didn't. So this might look on the 4 hourly now like a bit of a bull trap on this chart here. Jasmy is a real pain in the ass to trade, because you do get good signals and setups, and we've traded it a few times on the channel, and we've done some decent trades on it, but those trades always get faded. They always fade out. So you can see here, even on this rally, so there's a pump signal generated down here at, well, just below 0.4 cents. We traded up to the horizontal trend line that I've just extended, with the price action that existed around this support, and then the breakdown. So even though the moving averages sometimes can prove to be quite useful, it's respecting moving averages less than it is horizontal trend lines, so previous sell walls, buy walls. And even now, when you see the big pullback, it respected this level here, which has been a support for us here, and a breakdown zone as well. So you could look at this as an accumulation zone if you really felt strongly about buying into to Jasmy for what could be a long-term position, or even in the short term if Ethereum breaks out and altcoins catch a break, then maybe this could prove to be okay to buy between, what is this, 0.38 of a cent and what, 0.46 of a cent. It's quite a decent range to think about buying based on what we're seeing. It's a 20% range. You could even set a trading bot up at that level, to be honest with you. Just to, even if we hung around in here, this can be a volatile coin, so you might get some decent, trading bot action on this one. But are we looking for breakout or breakdown at this very moment in time? It's neither here nor there. The bears have definitely got more control on the shorter term timeframes. The bulls have got the one day, which might find a bounce from here. If for whatever reason we break out, and again, the main criteria is thinking about Ethereum above 2,000. A breakout from here, I think you could target quite realistically 5.6 cents, and maybe even the top of the range back up to 0.8 cents. But for now, it is basically up to you to decide. I think, focused on the daily more than the 4 hourly. So the 4 hourly could bring us down to the bottom of the range. The daily, could take us up to the top of the range. The range is the most important thing to think about. So if you want to buy into Jasmy, recognize the dangers that lurk around the corner of Jasmy, because it's one of the worst looking charts on the long term. It might be the worst looking long term chart I've ever seen. This is only Binance's history. You go to Gate.io, you'll see this trading at stuff. I think it was trading at $6 at one point. So you talk about getting wrecked. When we have a chart that only goes down, it's a down only chart. Since the beginning of time, you should only really expect further downside on it. To be honest, that's what you should only ever expect. That. Why would it change its trajectory? Why would it suddenly change from down only to up only? And there's no reason for that. The weekly might give us a little hope if we start to reclaim, I suppose, 0.54 of a cent. Yeah, maybe we could entertain the idea of this becoming an up only chart, but really it is a down only chart. So you're thinking, all right, let's get rejections. Now that we're looking at this on the weekly, actually we can see that the 10 exponential highlights this area as well. So the top of the range. So this rate, we're definitely range bound in this. I'll call it an accumulation range because I'm optimistic about Ethereum breaking out, leading altcoins further, but high risk, potentially high reward. We would be looking for us to double your money at the top target on this one if you were to buy even now. But remember, that's just your top target. Anyone in their right mind would scale out with every incremental area. So you wouldn't wait to go all in and then go all out. Right, let's have a look at some of these questions coming in then. So, glad to see you live. I think the bull run is imminent at this point. Technically, the bull run is already... it's a bull market, isn't it, really? And we might be looking at a period of time, I reckon, where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. And I think it will be short-lived. This is the sort of behavior that we saw in the last bull market, really. The last bull market is a good one to go by when you think about the psychology of Bitcoin to altcoins, because prior to that, altcoins didn't really exist in mass. And they weren't really traded. The capacity to trade them, places like Binance only really came into existence in like 2017. So, it wasn't. So the last bull market, the one that's gone from 2019 to 21, that's the one that we should focus our model on, really, when you think about rotations or just altcoin mania or whatever. We've got some price action to go by. Even that though, it's only not many years, so it's still again wet behind the ears. But yeah, we're in a bull market, and my general vibe is that we're just going to be going sideways, effectively. Sideways for Bitcoin within a roughly 100% range between 20 and 40 for at least another year, maybe 18 months, and through that period comes little portions of altcoin popping. And I reckon we're going to pop altcoins off when Ethereum reclaims that $2,000 zone. One thing I'll just show you as well is the total market cap too. So this is one of the reasons we want Ethereum to reclaim that area. So Ethereum is a bullish chart, let's face it. It's above all major moving averages. Get off the weekly, but even on the weekly it's above all major moving averages, so it is a bullish chart. We've got a golden cross retest with a V-shaped recovery, which is standard procedure really for decent charts. So bang bang, V-shaped recovery. This is where we want to break above. Now this is a bullish chart, so recognize we're above all major moving averages, we're trending up, V-shaped recovery, all of that, and it has a lot of influence on the total too, which is market cap excluding Bitcoin. So this is all altcoins excluding Bitcoin, and the total too is technically a bearish chart at the moment really. This is nothing more than death cross retest, but you reclaim this area, which is ever so slightly where we are right now. We've tested it 2 days in a row now after a death cross. So normally you'd be like, all right, fine. Expect us to go down from here. But if Ethereum can carry on above 2,000, then it will influence. It will cause enough influence on this chart to raise it above. Because the death cross is quite recent, it wouldn't take long to cancel it out. And so you'd start to see the total 2 rally. But at the moment on the daily, it's not looking like it wants to rally. The 4 hourly though. Ooh, this is interesting. It's the first time I've seen it this morning. So the 4 hourly has now just got a golden cross. So the 4 hourly on a short-term time frame is actually showing decent promise now. So, so it does look good. I am optimistic across the board for altcoins, but my criteria for major price action is going to be based around Ethereum above 2,000. It's just going to help that total 2 chart move up, which is going to allow for effectively an alt season. Don't think it's going to be massive. So these targets on these charts that we've looked at, they're top targets as far as I'm prepared for is around 100% or so. So doubling in price, but it's not massive. It's not the 2021 gains, which is what you see at the end of the end of a market cycle. XRP, let's have a look at this. We had some decent setups on XRP. So I don't think we quite got them anymore. So the daily, all right, so fair enough. So the daily's working on a golden cross retest on exponential moving averages. So 1, 2 in a row, right? So these are supports that should be thought about as realistic. Similar to how Ethereum seems to be bouncing from its 200 simple, you might be getting something like that on XRP. It did it over here, 200 simple, and a V-shaped recovery. Again, standard stuff really for charts that recognize that XRP is an old altcoin, one of the oldest. I think it's 10 years old now. So we do have the price, volume, and time component for all indicators, so we can treat it a little more seriously. This is why I like to trade XRP, because you can generally take its chart seriously from a trader's perspective. So all right, so this is our first major level to think about buys on, 45.6 cents. Maybe we get a bounce from there. We used to like to see the 200 exponential as a bit of a promising area, whether it's to buy, long, or short from. XRP has always historically liked the 200 exponential more than the simple, but maybe because it's getting older and even more mature than before, maybe the simple moving average is its preference. It's definitely happened for Bitcoin and Ethereum. They've switched from moving around the exponentials to the simples more. But there is definitely relevance to the exponentials too. We had this big buyback here. We've obviously had these rejections around here. So it's still might not be a preference, but it's still worth taking note of. So that's 45.7 cents really. On the daily right now though, this using the moving averages alone, this Bollinger Band Center pointing down, this 200 exponential pointing up, we're effectively creating a wedge, and we're close enough to the center to say your guess is as good as mine. The top being around 48, just short of 49. The bottom roughly being around 45.5. So you can try and trade within the formation, or you could trade the breakout. Breakout trades are probably safer than anything else, and so you're looking for us to reclaim on a daily the Bollinger Band Center. Now, even that I wouldn't feel comfortable making a leveraged or futures position on that. I want to see XRP reclaim the 51.5 cent zone and start to use that as support, because that's where the real gains are going to be made, with a view to move into the 60. You know, first target would be 60, so like 51 to 60. That's a decent trade. Top target being around 90. So it sounds ridiculous, but that's more or less the setup that we're looking at here. We've been looking at it for a while. We've been consolidating here for a while now. Death cross on the 4 hourly. So again, I wouldn't get too excited at XRP down at these lower levels. I'd only really want to get excited above 51.5 cents. That's where the excitement can really kick in for XRP. At the moment, you just got to let it do its thing, because XRP can be pretty underwhelming when there is no setup. And at the moment, there really isn't a setup unless you fancy buying those moving averages. And even that, we don't know which one is going to prefer to use. Please look at this chart. Right. Well, I don't really know what this chart is. Right. So Vet and Pepe. Okay, let's get started. I'm only going to be able to do this till 9, so we've got like an hour to go. So because I've got to take the kids out. I don't know why I did that. Right. Pepe. And what was the other ones? I can't remember now. Vet. Okay. Right, let's get started on these bad boys. Okay, so Vet's rallying. Okay, so we've obviously looked at this in the past. On the 4 hourly, we were above this horizontal, which is good. So we've reclaimed a horizontal. Let's have a look on the daily to see what sort of setup that had. So just a big dip down, all the way down to no man's land. I think if we zoom right out, we can see that there has been a big breakout of a giant, huge descending triangle, which does feel quite exciting if you think about it from where we are right now. You know, if we were to, for whatever reason, start to reclaim all these zones, you're looking at basically over a 10x for this a 10x basically. But that's a 10x over time. That's not a 10x based on what we see right now. What we see right now is just an incoming death cross retest where we should expect rejections between 2.1 and 2.2 cents really. That's okay to get that, because if you get a rejection around here and you pull back into this horizontal, retesting this level back down at basically 19.17 cents, then that's okay. If we can hold above that level, then that's something thinking about maybe buying those zones. The 4 hourly is probably going to look quite good here. Yeah, so a fresh golden cross with a retest immediately. So you've got a double golden cross with a simple and exponentials all sitting down here at 17, almost 18 cents, and a big bounce, effectively V-shaped recovery from that. The same setups across the board for every chart. These are the sort of things you look for, and we seem to be getting them, on the short-term time frames. Trading is just a matter of statistics, isn't it? Really, it's not magic. It's no crystal ball. You try to apply the same analysis over any chart or stock or commodity or even forex. You apply the same thing. You will notice certain things that happen more often than not. Golden crosses get retested, and a very good chance that they have a V-shaped recovery. Not always. Statistically more likely that they do that, but not always. And in the case of VeChain here, on the 4 hourly, it's done it. It did the V-shaped recovery after a golden cross retest. So excellent. So it is definitely good. It's optimistic, but I think we're looking for a pullback in the shorter term time frames on the death cross, because remember the golden cross retests are bullish for V-shaped recovery. A death cross retest is nothing more than an opportunity to short or get rejected from. And this was a death cross from all the way back down from here. There's your death cross when we were back trading just short of 12 cents. And another retest of that is going to be around these levels. It's messy. It's definitely a messy chart. It doesn't have to happen. We did have a breakout here of a death cross retest, but it didn't quite work out. I think it's more likely that we do get a rejection or expect one around here. And if you do get a pullback towards the 19 cent zone, 1.9 cent zone, then that's good. One thing I'd also be looking at is that you're gearing up for what could be a pump signal later on down the line, maybe in a few weeks or so. You need this cheeky spend to close outside of the price action to confirm that. At the moment, it's sitting here, so you need another 10% and a closure on a daily above 10% from here, so above 2.2, 2.3 cents to get a pump signal. So ideally, you'd want to wait for that to creep out the cloud at a lower zone, which gives us another 33 days, so another month really for that to break out, creep out of the cloud at a lower level. So It's been decent, I like the way it looks, but I think the majority of this move has been done, and we'll be getting a rejection roughly around here, and hopefully a pullback for us newcomers to maybe pick this up at that level. Closures below 0.19 cents, probably sees lower, but if we can meander around this area for, again, like I say, another 30 days, that would be really good for it, because it would be a period of accumulation above a horizontal leading into a pump signal, and all these moving averages will have crossed back above this level, so adding more weight to the fact that this 0.19 cent zone is a strong support. At the moment, all the moving averages are still below us, so this is simply just a reference point of a support rather than a tangible strong support. It get a lot stronger, especially if this 20 moving average crosses above here. So I think this one, it can obviously move. I know it's a popular coin, people like it. It's got, it does move aggressively when it wants to, and it has broken out of a giant descending triangle. But on the short-term time frames, they're probably a bit more concerned about where it's going to go from here. Again, money flow index is quite high. Remember what I said about the money flow index. It's always worth referencing how high that is and working out how much higher it can go from there. Pepe, let's have a look at that. So just for those who are watching this, I don't normally do these streams like this. My streams I do Tuesdays and Friday nights for Patreon members. So if you want to join the Patreon, it's the first of the month now, so it's the best time to do it, because you get billed on the first, I believe. The next stream will be on Tuesday night. I just couldn't do one last night because, well, I'd eaten something that hadn't agreed with me, and so I couldn't really take my entire setup to the toilet, nor should I. Right. The Pepe is good. Again, it's wet behind the ears, not very old chart at all, but from the price action we've got, we're trading above all major moving averages. The money flow index is quite high with little drive of bearish divergence. Bearish divergence, I suppose, does exist on the daily, but it's not a problem. And look, what have we got here? Neat AF. Golden cross retest on your 4 hourly, leading into what's probably going to be a V-shaped recovery, as you would expect. What more can you say about it, really? I mean, all these charts are doing the same thing, whether it's gold or whatever. They're all doing the same thing, and even Pepe's doing the same thing. This one, even though it's not a very old chart, it's traded extremely heavily, so the price and volume aspect of this is going to be taken quite seriously. The time component, not as much, but from what we've got, from the short little price action that we do have, the buy, the most obvious buy would have been down here. All the zeros, 136, a golden cross retest, and there you go, is your V-shaped recovery already. And so far, so good. We're more or less holding above your Bollinger Band center. No pump signal yet here. What we want to see is this portion of the leading portion of the cloud flicker green, and then you'd be good to go for some more upside. To be fair with you, I'm okay with this seeing more upside anyway, just based on the 4 hourly setup being above all the moving averages are significant. So V-shaped recovery. And above all major moving averages to an extent. Again, it's not a very old chart, so we have to recognize that. One thing you should think about as well is that Pepe, what is it? It's like the new cool meme token, so maybe it's the Shiba or the Doge of this new cycle. Look, crypto's a mad place. Sometimes it takes no brains to become a millionaire. I don't know what it does, or if it does anything. Does it need to do anything? I don't know. But if you want to buy into meme coins, this is certainly one of them. And, like I say, it requires zero skill to buy a meme coin. And the people who did that in the last bull run, well, they made some serious gains, didn't they? They did extremely well. So it's kind of mad. It's kind of mad to think that that's how it works. But it does work like that. To be fair, all markets work like that. I don't know if you recognize the AI scenario that's been taking place this year, but AI stocks, doesn't matter what they are or what they do or what their earnings reports are, they went up anyway. They just went up anyway. Anything AI just got bought up. Doesn't matter what it does, it says AI. Like the dot-com bubble back in 2000. People just bought anything. Dot-com bubble, buy. So even traditional markets work in the same way, and crypto obviously works exactly like that. So if you want to buy Pepe, buy Pepe. There's a good chance it'll work out, just because that's the world we live in right now. AGI BTC heart is 5 year old. Right, chart, let's have a look. So is this going to be on major exchanges? AGI BTC. No, we're gonna have to take this onto trading view. Not really seeing any options to trade it here. I can't. I'm not sure if that's what you want me to look at here, to be fair. I'll look at it anyway, because I'm quite bullish on gold's mining stocks anyway. 4 hourly on this bad boy. If this is what you want to look at, I don't know if it's true, but we'll look at it anyway. So we've reclaimed the Bollinger Band centers. We've reclaimed a lot of things. We've got a consolidation here, similar to where the gold is consolidating and looking to break out. Again, we looked at the gold chart a moment back, but it's basically doing a golden cross retest. Standard practice, really. Now, I'm bullish on mining stocks. I made a video a couple of weeks ago about Glencore that I actually picked that up yesterday. So, and I'll pick up more if we go down further. I'm bullish on precious metals. I'm bullish on commodities. So I'm bullish on their stocks. So this one's still consolidating, definitely, but it's showing signs of recovery. Let's have a look on the daily. So this one bounced way before its 200 simple or exponential. In a perfect world, you'd get another retest down at these lower levels, just below $11. This is where the price action is right now, and down to 10.50. That's what we saw for gold. Gold bounced on its exponential, bounced up. So hopefully, this, if you wanted to buy this, you'd wait a little longer. There's two ways to play it. Obviously, you could try and buy these, or you could buy the breakouts, and the breakout for this one would also coincide with the Bollinger Band center. A breakout above $12 and hopefully a retest of the trend line or the Bollinger Band center would be good enough to try, or lower down to these levels would be good enough to try anyway, because again, this is a bullish chart, and this would be the first time a 200 exponential or a simple has been retested since we golden crossed all the way back down here. So two ways to play it, either play the breakout or play the lower support. But right this very moment in time, no man's land, really. Heart. Right, so let's have a look at this. These cryptos are what? No, these are stocks. All right, we'll do it. Okay. You say this is not a 5-year-old chart, is it? So I don't know if I'm looking at the right things here, to be fair. If you want me to look at stuff, just let me know if they're in the comments, if they are cryptos or whatever. I don't really see any. No, I don't really know what. It's obviously not the right thing. I don't want to be looking at random wrong stuff for people. Right, so VRA. Okay, now we're talking some proper Shiite coins. Right, so VRA on the weekly, we'll just take it down a notch. Just slow down, all right? Just slow down. So again, this is what we're expecting to see on dailies in the short term. This is why in this very short term at the moment, right now, we're looking at death cross retests on dailies and golden cross retests on 4 hours. So here's your death cross retests. You had a death cross over here. It's the first time we've touched it. Rejection, rejection, rejection. So there is promise in this, because obviously we're above the Bollinger Band, which has been respected in itself. And if you extend the way that these look, this is effectively a ascending triangle, which is more likely to break out than break down. It's more of a bullish formation than a bearish formation. That's the trajectory that we're in. So recognize that's the 200, the 20 simple moving average trending up, 200 exponential effectively trading sideways and down, and we're inside the middle of the triangle. And if you want to see a breakout, you want to see it sooner rather than later. You want to see it happen, roughly before 75% towards the end of the apex. You don't really want to be taking too much risk if you're closing towards the end of the apex, because whatever you'll get, whether it's a breakout, normally ends in a breakdown, like a fake out, as with this. So again, it's just observation, really. It doesn't have to happen on something like VRA, which is not, again, heavily traded or anything like that. So there's two ways to play it. You either trade a breakout if it happens sooner rather than later, which would be a breakout above 0.56 of a cent, or you'd be looking to retest the Bollinger Band center, which happened several days ago back down here. Either one would be one way to try and play it. So let's have a look at the 4 hourly to see how that's brewing. I imagine it looks quite good, to be honest. Yeah, so there's your golden cross on exponentials, there's your simples, and more or less, even though it was messy, it was more of a daily Bollinger Band Center retest than anything. More or less got your bids filled if you tried to play these as golden cross retests. It's not resulted in a V-shaped recovery. It's definitely a crooked piece of price action at the moment. And in the short term, the bears have got control. So you could probably wait this one out and see if we get a more neat and tidy retest of these lower levels, and try and take advantage of those. 4 hourly is definitely diverging, but the move was pretty savage, wasn't it? Really, this is definitely a savage move. 38% in just over a day, really. So pretty decent move. Definitely requires a pullback. But I like VRA. I know it's not very popular in the broader crypto world, but I actually like it. And well, it's related to gaming, right? Just like I said earlier about anything related to anything that's cool gets pumped. No one needs to know what it does. That's what we saw with AI. We even saw that with AI cryptos that really don't do much. They're just appropriately named. So if gamify game tokens, they'll start moving. This will start moving for association. And I think because it's got a large community, hasn't it? Really, there is a chance maybe it gets listed on stuff like Binance, but we can't hold out for stuff like that. With or without it, and there's a good chance it'll just get pumped through association with whatever becomes cool in the market. And I think that game tokens will have their own little seasons, just like DeFi and AI and meme, layer 2s, all these sort of things. They all have their own little seasons at some point over the next few years. I think this will benefit from that. Whether or not it actually deserves it is a different story. That doesn't matter anymore, does it? But on the short-term timeframes, yeah, maybe try and think about maybe opportunities around just below 0.5 of a cent, 0.47, 0.48 of a cent, and trending up. But generally, it's a crooked chart, and it has been rejected on a death cross retest. The Bollinger Band Center sitting at 0.48 of a cent, just above 0.48.5 cent. So there is opportunity there. No pump signals are going to be generated on this bad boy until we've reclaimed it's 0.65 of a cent. So it's got a long way to go before it makes up any of its losses, but moved big in the past. Let's have a look at the previous price action. This is what it used to look like. We'll probably be looking at something similar to that happening at the moment anyway. Whether we end up in a big blow-off top scenario where everything gets pumped in 2025 is a different story. I imagine it's probably going to be true. It's probably going to be the case, but in the short term, just be aware that this one's already completed a death cross retest, and the next major buy is, for me, if you really wanted to try and buy into it, the next opportunity would be a Bollinger Band retest, so just above 0.48%. ICP, good God, let's do it. Right, let's have a look at this thing. ICP. All right, okay, fair enough. So ICP holding above the Bollinger Band Center 4 days in a row on a daily, so it's not too bad. We've got our own consolidation that exists around this level. So the next major area of resistance is basically this horizontal as well, isn't it? Really, so we'll just extend that a bit further over. So we're talking $4.37. A little lower, a little higher. The 200 exponential is back above this level, which is 5.28. So 4 hourly, not. I mean, the daily, it's okay. It's okay. Let's have a look at the momentum on this one. Still got ways to go before we see any sort of major breakout or anything like that. You want to see MACD crossing above the 0 point. You want to see that, all of that. It definitely has the potential to break out and have a decent rally, to be honest with you. You can extend this consolidation further if you wanted. And the measured move on something like that would be back up towards 680. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I'm saying that's what it would point towards. 4 hourly is pretty awful in fairness in comparison to these other altcoins that we've seen. But it does highlight the breakout area as an important one. So look, so we got like death cross retests on 4 hourlies. So most altcoins that we've looked at so far have reclaimed these, and they've had golden cross retests. Whereas ICP hasn't even managed to reclaim these areas on a 4 hourly. So not a good look for it, unfortunately. But we can start to treat this chart a bit more seriously once reclaiming, getting above and reclaiming. We'll call it 440. Building a base above 440 has every chance to continue up, incrementally reclaiming these zones that it's lost all the way up towards $7 or so. But for the moment, it's not worthy of bids or buys taking it. Yeah, you've got to work out risk to reward, and the reward and the risk don't really exist when there's no setup. Setups will exist above, we'll call it 440. But at the moment, it's pretty poor in comparison to all the other altcoins. Obviously, it's not benefited much at all. It's just moving through association with the market. Yeah, we'd all love to see that, obviously. Yeah, we'd all love to see that. Look, treat Jasmy as a lottery ticket. Right? That's how I see it. There's nothing wrong with sticking $100 in at half a cent for the hope that it moves up, to what, 50 cent. That's 100x, $100 becomes 10 grand, That's decent. But holding out for it, different story altogether. Right, what's this thing? TRU1. Okay. TRU1 plus T. Right, so this must be a real shitcoin if it's trading on these other things. So I imagine the liquidity is pretty low, but we'll see. I don't know. So this is definitely wrecked city, isn't it? But let's treat it fairly. That's what it does definitely move hard. So I appreciate that. That's what's something that you're looking and holding out for. Right, on a daily. So we've moved from 8 towards 9. So it's done a decent move already, and it's holding above its 21 and its 50 moving average on the daily with a death cross retest sitting up here just below 11. So pretty sweet stuff. 4 hourly. Golden cross retest. So maybe you get another retest of it again. So this is a consolidation based on its last move on the short-term time frames. There's no pump signal on this one or anything like that. All there is a support on the short-term time frame sitting towards these lower levels, which is hopefully something that you could take part of. But I am absolutely not saying that this is a great setup, because it's no different to other shitcoins. Basically, it is a shitcoin. So do we take it as seriously as we would if we saw it on something like gold or Bitcoin or Ethereum, or even XRP, which have a high degree of success because they've got the price, volume, and time component to their indicators? But from what we can see on the 4 hourly, it definitely has been respected. Twice. It hasn't resulted in a V-shaped recovery, not yet. So you could try and take advantage of it down at these lower levels. I wouldn't hold out for it, but hopefully it would work. I can't really spin it in a more positive light than that. Remember, like altcoins, they're unpredictable, aren't they? And this one, even though there is a setup there, it's not very convincing because obviously it probably doesn't trade very heavily. For one, it probably follows the market to a large extent. So you would really want to see Ethereum above that 2000. There is a rough but messy horizontal where you'd probably get more bullish. Breakouts above 10, just above 10 cents would probably be okay. And at that point, you'd be looking for a pump signal on the Ichimoku cloud, or even a trend signal, which is most likely going to form a pump signal. And even then, look, I mean, this could be extended even further back in time, and it's a flat figure as well. So Captain Noobmaster loves to have flat numbers like 10 cents. So building above 10 cents, you probably target areas like, well, probably only really towards 11 and 12. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest with you, because obviously it doesn't trade heavily on lots of other exchanges, and so I can't get massively bullish on it. EOS. Okay, let's do a bit of EOS then, shall we? So EOS did do some pumping yesterday. I don't know if you've noticed it, but the dinosaur coins, as they're known as, these older coins, seem to have run hard. We've had like BSV, BCH, Chainlink had a little run. Obviously XRP did a decent run ages ago. Even Litecoin, which is probably going to dump soon because they're halving. The Litecoin halving is probably only days or weeks away. Result in a dump most likely. EOS is a terrible chart, right? It's a terrible looking chart. On its daily, this is first portion of a death cross retest. The next is all the way up here, just around $1. So breaking this level and holding above 80 cents is likely going to take us all the way up towards $1. Based on this daily, pretty rubbish. Money flow index is very peaky, around 85. Previously, we have gone higher than 85. We've gone all the way up to the 92s. But again, it's too high to want to enter into a position in it. Definitely too high for that, especially as you hit a resistance. You'd love to see a pullback towards 70, which is your Bollinger Band center. Let's have a look at the 4 hourly again then. So the 4 hourly has not got a golden cross or anything like that. It did have a pump signal that was generated when the Chiku span broke the price action here at 72. So that pump that we're having was probably generated on the basis of that. We also had the momentum of the RSI breakout and the MACD above the 0 point. So you can be optimistic in the short term, definitely, for further upside, definitely. And it could even run all the way up to $1 before it pulls back. We've seen stranger things. But for the moment, I would prefer a pullback towards 70. And if you really wanted to pick up EOS, you pick it up around 70 for what could be the next run, with a little bit more wiggle room on the money flow index on a daily after a reset. But it's not bad, but it's not really good either. It's definitely something to watch, but trading EOS is well, it's you got to have a screw loose for it. There's got to be a very clear setup, and even then it's definitely risky. Right then, let's get going on these. Ocean, DGB. Let's have a look at these things then. So in the broader markets, AI has cooled off a little bit. I sold my AI stocks a couple of weeks back, and they may continue up, but for the moment they've not. They've definitely pulled back quite a lot, over 25%. And Ocean is an AI crypto, so with that, you should think about it in terms of trending with a particular market, which is at the moment pulling back to a large extent. Right, DGB 4 hourly reclaimed all these moving averages. Excellent. The pump signal generated here at 0.68%. We're now 0.74%. That's good. You'd look for golden crosses to complete, and that would be buys around 7, so not too different from where we're at right now. Everything trending up, money flow index not too high, everything actually pointing up, decent momentum. So this one might have even continuation on the short term. We've got above this 50 for the most part. Yesterday closed below it. Today we're having another run, and the next target is going to be up here at 0.8 to 0.9%. Money flow index peaking so far around 88. Historically, how high do we like to be? So it's one of the higher reads that it's had in a while, so it doesn't feel comfortable buying into it at that level. What you'd really want to see is a cooling off period, a pullback and a reset of something like a money flow index. But I have to say, it does look quite good. So if we continue with this general move, this general direction, even if we go up to 0.9% and then pull back from there, the next retest of something more tangible, even a 50, but probably a 20, is going to be the best. So I'm talking about your Bollinger Band center, really. So this is early days on a daily trend. Early days are usually quite volatile. So you want to buy supports. The 20 moving average has been quite, well, historically it's got relevance to it. So a decent bid there, front run here, resistance all the way here. Plenty of resistance around here, so I would treat the Bollinger Band relatively seriously. So patience on the daily on this one, where we move up first and then back down to wherever this one goes down the line. That's where to buy it from, I would say. Right this very moment in time, it's probably worthy of just leaving it. Maybe even letting the 4 hourly golden cross take place and taking advantage of that. As we've seen, has become more well. It's a classic setup for continuation. Ocean 4 hourly looks awful. We've got a death cross here and trending below all moving averages. Rejection even now, we can see on this 4 hourly Bollinger Band. Nothing more than that. We do have some bullish divergence brewing on the 4 hourly, which led to this wick and this bounce, but not enough to take us even up to a death cross retest. You get bullish on this one once all these moving averages have been reclaimed, but for the moment we've actually got short signals on this one, so it doesn't look good. It's unfortunate, really. You've got all these other altcoins that are actually trending up, and this one's trending down. But let's be fair to it. It ran pretty hard, pretty fast, and did really good. And now it's going down. So this has definitely got something different going on for it. We look at it in the broader markets. That's why on my normal videos, you look at things like forex, commodities, stocks, and you stand back and look at all of that and go, all right, fair enough. We've got we've got something bigger at play. And when it comes to AI cryptos, you have to look at AI stocks like C3 AI. I'll just show you that now, just very briefly, just to give you an idea of what it is that I'm looking at. AI, I think it just comes up as now. Here we go. So C3 AI, this is the crypto, this is the actual stock that I was trading. Peaked around here, got out, and we're trending down 4 hourly. You'll be looking to buy this back around 27, 28. And on the daily, it's still a good chart, but you know, there's a 50 exponential retest, but a rejection on your Bollinger Band center with a view to maybe even come down below 25. So this is how I would choose to interpret anything based around crypto AI. They can probably do their own things, obviously, but I think they're trending with a broader view, which is anything AI. You know, and this is one of the bigger ones out there, C3 AI. I'm not saying this is the leader, but it's one of the bigger ones. So if we're going to trade any AI, we look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is we've had a blow off top effectively, and now we're trending down. To pick it up a little bit later, and you know, maybe Ocean picks up when C3 AI picks up, maybe down at these lower levels, maybe around 25. Right, XDC, and which coin do you like the best for day trading scalping? Well, I don't really do that much, to be fair. I don't really do that, but if I was to trade any coins, which I obviously do trade coins, the ones I prefer are usually the more boring ones. I'll be looking at stuff like XRP, for instance. That usually has a good degree of success. There could be any coin that we look at on these Tuesday and Friday live streams that present in a decent way. And that's the beauty of having the live streams that we do on Tuesdays and Fridays. You know, we look at whatever charts we see, and some do present better than others, and maybe we can take advantage of them. For the most part, though, the older the coin, the better, because the more likely it is to move based on what we see. This is why I look at some of these things like what was it? This coin here. And you know, I'm a bit skeptical of what it is that I see there, because I don't know how seriously you can treat something like that. But with something like XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, gold, stuff like that, you know, you can treat those a little bit more seriously because they're heavily traded, and when something's heavily traded, they usually respect their setups. Where you trade something that's either been around for less than a year and it trades at less than $1 million, it's not really a trader. It's not that it's not tradable. It's just that it's not. Yes, you can't take it as seriously as something else, whether it's Forex or whatever. Right, that's XDC. I think we're gonna have to wrap this up early a little bit, to be honest with you. I can hear my kids going mental downstairs, so I might have to go and deal with that. Alright, so we obviously looked at this in the past. There's a breakout with a measured move. We did get a decent move on this one after that breakout, but it didn't complete. This probably fell with the rest of the market. Now what we see is a death cross. So death cross retest hits at 3.36 cents. So a little bit higher than where we're at right now. Expect a rejection around that level. Classic area for it to be rejected from. Big drive of bullish divergence, but nothing to be too excited about. Again, nothing more than a death cross retest at 3.3 cents over here. So we can get bullish once broken above here, and it's starting to build a base above here. But for the moment, I think rejection is likely around this level. We should just hold off. There's nothing wrong with buying at higher levels if the risk to reward is higher, which is what it would be. At the moment, this is consolidating after this big move, still consolidating, and will continue to consolidate until we've got above at least the 3.3 cents. And that means 4 hourly closures, daily closures above there, making sure that these areas are being respected, because you know we have seen closures above here before, but no base was built. This is why it's good to have divergence of golden crosses and whatnot, moving averages crossing into the correct place, because it shows us trend building and strengthening. If we just reclaim these areas, you can take a risk on it, but there is no trend. You know, we want to see a trend, so we want to see this. We want to see, well, the equivalent of all these other things that we've looked at, where golden crosses are formed and they get retested as supports. So I'm not particularly bullish on this in the short term. It can pop, obviously. It's done it in the past. It's gone mad in the past. But right now, I'd just be looking for another rejection and a pullback from there, to be fair with you. Right. H-bar. So I'll just do these next few comments that we've got on there, and I'll leave it there. Right, so classic retest of a death cross again. I'm like a bot, really, just explaining what's happening across the market. The whole market is performing as one. This is why it's so important to focus on Ethereum breaking out above that 2000. It's going to give all these altcoins the power to change their current structure, which is nothing more than a downtrend. The Bollinger Band has been retested, which is good. So what we're looking at here is maybe the beginning of what is currently shaping into a symmetrical triangle. So we just imagine that the Bollinger Band forms like that and the 200 exponential forms like that, and we're going to play around in this range. So you could try to take the 4 hour, the daily Bollinger Band seriously and buy within that. Symmetrical triangles are effectively 50-50. They could work out either way. If you want to buy the bottom of it, we're talking around those levels. We've got a golden cross, narrowly avoided a death cross, so continuing with a golden cross on a 4 hourly. So between these areas, so we're talking buy zones of around 5 cents to 4.8 cents. Definitely a buy zone based on a formation and a support. We're crossing above the 0 point, so we could even see a move from, let's just say if we bought here, the risk is what, about 3%. The reward is potentially 20%, so decent risk to reward. Obviously employ tight stop losses if you're looking to leverage trade that. That's pretty much all there is to say about it. I don't imagine that we'll have enough power on this first run to break out of this, but I think this formation is worthy of being taken seriously, and so you'd be thinking the lower zones, about 4.8, 4.9 cents support and resistance towards the top. So we're talking 6 cents. So it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. It's not super bullish. So let's face it. We've done OMG. We'll do GMX, ABC, and Luna. Right. Oop, that's not there. X. Okay, so GMX is now pushing the $55 zone, so that's something we've highlighted for a while as the top of a range. I really liked Luna, but then that incident happened. All right, so that's not quite a that's fine. It's just an observation of catastrophe. ABC, and we'll find that on TradingView, will we? And then we'll leave it there, guys. ABC USDT. Right, so this trades in pancake swap. So I don't normally like these things, to be honest. Oh, look at that. I mean, I cannot see the attraction, to be honest with you. It's awful. This is terrible. I have no idea of the liquidity, but I imagine it must be quite low. It's a terrible looking chart. It's awful. So bad. Well, to be fair with you, let's just say I expect only down and down only. It's not known anything else. There's no other reason to expect anything other than down only. So this is just, that's basically all there is to say about it. I know it seems an obvious thing to say, but that's all there is to say about it. GMX. Okay, so what we got going on GMX? So we're just above the 55 now, so that's fine. So we're above the range. We were talking about this on the stream. The last stream we did is that the buy zone for something like GMX is currently 50 to 55. So now we've got towards the top and ever so slightly above it. Death cross retest took place here, so a rejection here took us down to a Bollinger Band. So there's your buy around 50. So decent move up yesterday from 50 above 55. Now what we want to see is a breakout above the 56 to 57. And that would be good for continuation. GMX appears to be a decent thing for the long haul. Right, so we're getting an incoming golden cross, and probably shortly after that we'll have a pump signal generated on the itchy cloud. We're waiting for this leading portion to flash green, and we'll get a pump signal. So it actually looks really good, to be honest with you, at the moment. So maybe another day or two leading into next week, we'll have a really decent setup, and we could target the next major zone, which is extending this to around $64, $65. So it's good. The consolidation broke out. We accumulated within a range. We're moving into hopefully a golden cross and a pump signal, which is a good two things to have at the same time. It's the MACD above the 0 points, crossing above the 0 point as well. We're getting a breakout of the RSI momentum as well. So you see the breakout and a retest of that. So it's all looking really good there. So I'm pretty confident that this one will move up to 65. Whether we pull back into a golden cross to retest it in around 53.5 would be good. But yeah, it's definitely good. So this is a good setup. So it's nice to leave the stream on a good setup there. So we do have a good setup. Hopefully a little bit of a pullback to allow us to pick it up again. But yeah, really good. But I can't stress enough the importance of all these altcoins fulfilling their top or even first targets really when Ethereum has reclaimed 2000. So far, golden cross retest, recovery, V-shaped recovery of that. Even a pump signal as well has now been generated or will be generated in the next 25 minutes on a 4-hourly. So I think, when all is said and done, things are looking very optimistic across the board for altcoins. But the major criteria is going to be Ethereum reclaiming and building a base, including with the moving averages above 2000. And then we should have some decent moves across the board for everything, just through association with being altcoins. And all these things that are just doing nothing more than death cross retests on their daily charts, which are basically just nothing more than continuation of a downtrend, they might even at that point be broken, and they will change their chart structure to uptrends on higher term timeframes like dailies, and that's when some really big gains are being made. At the moment, even the death cross retests could result in decent gains, but they're nothing more than bearish retests of a death cross and continuation of a downtrend. But that should all start to flip if we see Ethereum reclaim and build a base above 2000. Kind of really is that simple. Right, I'm going to leave it with you there, but thanks for joining me on the stream. And again, if you want to join the Patreon, we do these on Tuesdays and Fridays. I just didn't do it last night because I couldn't, but so I thought I'd do this one across, as a freebie, as a special weekend treat for everybody. But if you are interested, links in the description below, I believe, or in the Telegram, or just on my normal day.